how many of you were here when Danny and Charles from India were here with me a few weeks ago? Okay, most of you were here, so you got already a little bit of a taste of how they described India. And I just want to kind of repeat again a little bit of what I mentioned about how it works, what you would be doing, and kind of what the dynamics are, because I think it's really important for you to kind of have that picture and say, can I fit? Does that work for me? And that is that we fly in to Hyderabad and then out to an area called Guntur. It's where we expect to work. We still have a couple little things we're trying to confirm, and we always tell our team members that the number one most important thing for you is to be flexible. We've had many times when we thought we had all our plans arranged and God changed them at the last minute, or we had some reason for security or safety reasons or something where our nationals said, we're not going here, we're going there. Sometimes, not very often, but once in a while that happens when we're arriving in the airport. Oh, we're not going there, we're going here. We have good nationals. It was good that you got to meet Danny and Charles, because you kind of know they're preparing the way for us and they know what we need. They're taking care of that. They're making sure that everything's arranged. But we're expecting to go to Guntur, and so we fly in to Hyderabad, the main city, and then we'll travel the next morning out to Guntur. We'll get to meet the nationals that we're working with. We'll have some time to pray, introductions. We'll kind of, us as leaders will interact with the local leaders and talk about our translators. We really have a mixture. You're being matched up with the translator, and then there's some local church members participating. And we're forming these teams, and so we're looking to say, as we talk about things, maybe the one who's the most afraid and feels the most challenged from our team will match up with the strongest translator and a couple of church members that are very confident. And somebody else that's really confident and on our team might not get as strong a translator, adequate, but maybe not as strong as somebody else. And we'll go through and we'll get you together and get you to start meeting each other and praying together, so immediately you start to bond with this little team that's formed. And often we'll get a chance to worship in one of the churches, or several churches will split up and go to worship in different churches on that Sunday morning. The first one we're there. And then Monday, and we will arrive probably Friday night into Hyderabad, and then Saturday we do a little additional travel to get out to that area. So Sunday is kind of a worship, get acquainted with everybody, get oriented, make sure that we're united as a team. Monday, we start to do our evangelism. And you're basically going into an area that's been assigned to you with the locals that know the way, and they guide you the way, and they're the ones that know how to record everything so that they can come back and do follow-up. And you're going with them, and you're just talking with people, whether it's door to door, or meeting somebody in the street, or it's talking in a school, whatever the Lord opens up that's appropriate for the particular area we're in. And then you use this usually as a primary way of sharing the gospel. And we're going to, if we have time today, we'll take a few minutes to introduce this to you a little bit more. But we'll definitely give you quite a bit of hands-on training.
Would any of our team members here be matched up with each other and an interpreter, or it's always we're by ourselves with an interpreter, or how does it usually work?
Usually what we do is there'll be a few of you that go in the same vehicle to a particular area, so that you might, one of you be on one side of the street or another side of the street, and then
we always have our own
gather
interpreter
back together. But we try to have your own interpreter for one primary reason. We can cover more ground and share the gospel with more people. Sometimes we aren't able to get enough translators for everybody, just because of the nature of what's practical, and then we will pair you up. If you're real hesitant the first day, we might pair you up anyway and let you go to some of the first houses together, just to kind of break the ice and get comfortable with the culture and how it goes. So we'll accommodate that, so if you're saying, You know, I had one young woman who the first morning of going out just started crying. It's like, somehow it just never registered with me that I'm really going to have to do evangelism. I feel like a Jehovah's Witness or a Mormon. You know, well, okay, you don't have to do anything. You know, let's just pray about it and see what God's going to do in your heart and all. And the Lord blessed her enormously in the week where she met this woman who was in her 60s who said, I was just praying all this week that somebody would explain this to me. Thank you for coming and helping me receive the Lord. To her, it was like, okay, I get it. I came here just for that one woman. Yes, okay. So anyway, that gives you a little bit of a sense. You can, you know, we'll try to see what God's doing in your own heart, how God's challenging you. At times we'll push you along and say, no, you can do it, go ahead. Other times we'll say, maybe, you know, I've had situations where they say, well, why don't you really just concentrate on prayer this morning and just really pray, you know, and do some prayer walking. If we can, we try to do a little prayer walking through the areas on that first Sunday afternoon. I find that to be really, really special and important. So that was a good question. Other questions that have come up?
I have another question. So after you initially share the gospel using the cube and maybe you share your testimony,
yes.
How do you transition into asking people if they want to receive Christ? You just launch in there and say, anybody want to have the same thing I have? Or what goes on? Is there any other interaction there? Or?
Why don't I let Stephanie kind of, how would you maybe give a sense of illustration of how you would maybe do that usually when you get to that point in the cube?